Alright, hello everybody. Welcome to episode 2 in my Secrets to Becoming a Pro Apex Legends Player series. The last episode was focused pretty much entirely on your setup. So if you guys want to watch that video, make sure to go check it out. But this next video is entirely based on settings. So we're going to talk about settings out of game, such as Windows settings, NVIDIA settings, and then we're also going to talk about settings in-game. I'm going to go over things like my keybinds, I'm also going to go over my mouse sensitivity, and I'm also going to compare different mouse sensitivities. If you're playing on a controller or you're on console, maybe the first section of this video might not be so useful because it's going to talk specifically about Windows settings and out-of-game settings, and obviously if you're on a console they won't apply to you. So you can skip to this timestamp right here and get straight into the in-game settings. But for now, join me on my desktop. So the first thing I want to cover here is your mouse options, and I want to make sure that you guys aren't playing with mouse acceleration on. So if you come down here and type in mouse, and then once this has come up, click on additional mouse options here. Alright, and then when you click on pointer options here, just make sure that enhanced pointer precision is turned off, right? If that's on, you basically have mouse acceleration, and that's really bad. The other thing I want to note as well, guys, is that if your Windows sensitivity, which is this bar here, so I play on 6 out of 11, if your Windows sensitivity is higher or lower than mine, your in-game sensitivity will be different from mine. So it's worth noting that just because someone's playing on the same sense as you, they might actually not be if their Windows sensitivity is not the same. So that's just something to mention. You can also, if you're keen, change your pointer here. I have mine on a slightly larger one. When I'm armor swapping or looting or something, I find it easier in game to see my pointer if it's larger. The next thing is to go into the control panel, open up control panel, click on hardware and sound, and then click on power options, and just make sure that you have it selected on high performance here, guys. This is going to use a little bit more electricity, but it will make sure your computer run a lot smoother. And what we're basically trying to do with these settings is to maximize frames per second in game. The higher the frames per second, the smoother the game's going to feel, and it's also going to make your aim a lot smoother as well. So I recommend turning high performance on. So the last thing I want to talk about in terms of Windows settings is something a little bit controversial, and you don't have to do this. It might not make that big of a difference to your frames in game. I personally found that it helped, and that is essentially that whenever you open a window like this, when I drag it around, can you see that it pulls the outline as opposed to the full box? Well, there's a few different personalization settings like that you can turn off, and they'll make your performance slightly better in game. It might not make a huge difference, but in theory it will help your performance. So to do that, you want to go Advanced System Settings, and you'll get this box here. And where it says performance here, if you click settings, and then you can adjust for best performance if you want increase the FPS in game. And this will basically remove a load of stuff on your Windows that might drop your frames a tiny bit. So I personally have custom because I like to keep the smooth edges on screen fonts on. Otherwise the text looks horrible. But you guys can play around with this and find what works best for you. If you're struggling with performance, you could try this. It might help. That's it, guys. That's all the Windows settings covered. So the next thing we're going to talk about is specific to NVIDIA. So if you guys don't have NVIDIA graphics cards, this won't be so useful for you. But if you do, check this out because this might be useful. So the first thing we're going to do is go into your NVIDIA GeForce experience. Make sure you guys have the most up-to-date drivers. And when you're installing a driver, make sure you click on custom installation, not express. Click on custom installation and then check the box that says perform a clean installation. Just one thing to note, it will remove any previous updates to the drivers on your computer. And the other thing I want to talk about quickly here as well is shadow play. So I personally play with shadow play turned off because I stream anyway. I do recommend if you want the best FPS in game, turn it off, guys. It's a great tool. I understand why you'd want it. You know, you can record gameplay, but I would definitely recommend turning it off if you want maximum performance in game. So you turn off this in-game overlay here, and that should deactivate your shadow play as it is. So the next thing, guys, is NVIDIA control panel. This is basically where all the juice is, and this is where you can really save some frames. So one thing I want to talk about really quick is just make sure that you have your monitor's refresh rate at the highest setting. So mine's 240 Hz, yours might be 60 or 144. Just make sure it's selected there at the highest one. The other thing you can do as well is create a custom resolution, which is what I've done. So you can create a custom resolution by coming in here and clicking customize. And as you can see here, I have this 1728 by 1080 resolution there that I have chosen. So the reason I play with this resolution is it makes the hitbox of everyone a bit larger, and it makes the game a bit smoother for me. And I really like playing with it. You might not, so you could play with it. You could try it out if you like. So to activate it, I'll show you later. You need to go in game and select 16 by 10 aspect ratio, but what you want to do is click create custom resolution, and then change the horizontal pixels here to 1728, and that's how you make the resolution. So the next thing is to talk about the adjust the desktop color settings. Here guys, you can increase your digital vibrance. Basically what this will do is it will make the game look a bit nicer. It will make the game a bit more colorful, a bit more bright. So I would turn this up to maybe 70. Some people play with it on 90 if you're a bit of a crackhead. I prefer 70. And yeah, it'll just make the colors pop a bit more. It might make for some gameplay advantages in some situations, but in general it'll just make the colors pop. Alright then, now we're on to the real exciting stuff. So this is your NVIDIA program settings. So you come into manage 3D settings, program settings. Make sure you have Apex Legends selected here. What you can do, guys, if you like, is you can just straight up copy all of these settings that I use. That's exactly what I did. I would talk through each one and explain why they are the way they are, but I have no clue. I don't know what any of them mean. I've just copied them from someone else and I found that they work for me. So little disclaimer, I am not an expert. These might be wrong, but they work for me. So you guys can have a look at this and try them out for yourself. The only thing that I will touch on real quickly is where it says max frame rate. I have that turned off. Now, there is definitely a situation that you should cap your frames in Apex Legends. For some reason, anything above 190 frames, the game runs like dog poop. Don't know why. You know, it just turns into this smelly, steaming pile of poo. So what I would do is cap your frame rate, but I won't do it in the NVIDIA settings. I'll do it in the Steam launch options, and we'll come to that. The other thing really quickly to mention in this manage 3D settings is where it says power management mode, I would make sure that's selected to prefer maximum performance, okay? That's just going to make your game run a bit smoother. And I'll just show you the rest of my settings here, and you guys can copy these if you want. I personally don't really know what I'm talking about. I copied them from someone else, and like I said, they worked wonders for me. So one more thing to mention really quickly, guys, in terms of your video settings in game, is actually disabling shadows. Now, this is something that you would want to do to increase your performance of your computer. It will make the game run smoother. You will get higher frames per second. However, there is an argument to be made that you might lose a gameplay advantage, because if someone's peeking you around a corner and you can see their shadow because the sun's behind them before you see them, then there is the possibility that you kind of have like this brief moment where you know he's going to peek you before he does because you can see his shadow. So having said that, if you have an amazing PC, it might be worth leaving shadows turned on. However, you really want to prioritize getting the best FPS you can, guys, so I would recommend turning them off. And I'll just show you how to do that now. So for me, I go into my documents, I go into my this PC, local disk, then I go into users, Cameron, save games, respawn, Apex, local, and then it's right there, video config. So you double click on that. And then if you scroll down, guys, you can see where it says setting.csm enabled. Set that to 0, just like I have, and that will remove your shadows completely. Now, it's really important to note, every single time you guys change a setting in game, this will revert back to 1 and shadows will be turned back on. So in order to avoid that, you want to come down here, right click, properties, and select read only once you've changed it, okay? And that will mean that every single time you change or you relaunch the game, it should read this config file and remove shadow. Alright guys, so there's one more thing before we get into the game that I want to cover real quickly, and that's Steam versus Origin. So I play Apex Legends on Steam. There's a very good reason for that, and that is that the update servers for Steam seem to be 15 times quicker than Origin. I don't know whether Origin's servers are located in Mongolia, or maybe they are from the 1300s, but they're so crap. So I would recommend using Steam because you'll update your game way quicker. So let's get into Steam, and I want to talk about the launch options real quick, guys. All right, so we're now in Steam. We want to go into Library, Apex Legends, Properties. Here are my launch options, guys. So the only ones I would really recommend here, you don't need the bind mouse wheel down for forward. That's something you can do in game. So you want to add this dash full screen launch option, and that will mean that the game always launches in full screen, which is what you want. Dash dev will remove the intro to the game, so as soon as you click the game, it launches up quicker. You know, if you're a sweaty Apex Legends player, you don't want to wait an extra 15 seconds, so that's useful. And here we go, guys. This is where I have the plus FPS max 189. That caps my frame rate at 189 frames per second and just allows my game to run smoother. So please make sure you do that if you have a great PC. I still think it's worth doing. I found that anything above 190 FPS in my game absolutely tanked. The other thing I do have is this GFX underscore Novum use low latency one. I don't really know if this works, guys. You can add it and see if it helps for you. I don't know. All right, that's it, guys. That's everything that I wanted to talk about out of game. So now we're going to launch up Apex Legends and get into game.
Hey YouTube, thank you so much for watching my second episode on my secret tips to becoming an Apex Legends pro player. This video was meant to be one whole video discussing in-game settings and out-of-game settings, and unfortunately it's a bit too long, so I'm going to split it into two. So I'll make sure to upload the second part as soon as possible, and I'll leave a link to it in the description. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, give me some loving, or don't if you didn't enjoy the video. Thank you so much, bye.